Ah yes, Slimestone, the most overpowered circuit in Minecraft. You either love it or hate it. It made what used to take hours only take 10 minutes. People spend weeks designing these doors and now a noob can build them. But Slimestone has a lot of upsides as well, like being able to build 10 by 10 doors or being able to just build a quote-unquote 3 by 3 door, even if you know little to nothing about Redstone. So today I'm going to teach you everything there is to know about Slimestone. First off, what is Slimestone? Well, Slimestone is what we call using slime and honey as the main part in a door to be able to make any size door. Even this 100 by 100 door you too can make by the end of this video. Anyways, here's a simple Slimestone circuit. Easy, right? Well, let's see how to build it. This is a wall. I'm going to teach you how to build this wall in these 3 other segments behind me. So let's get started. Now, to build this wall and to understand how it all works, you first need to understand slime, honey, and pistons. To understand slime and honey, it's actually very simple. Slime and honey don't stick together, so you can just do this, and they will not stick together. So it's very useful in doors like this. As you can see, slime and slime, or honey and honey, they obviously stick together, so it's not so useful if you're just using this for the main part of the door. And to understand the piston, it's even more simple. You just need to understand a few basic things. First thing is piston push limit. Now pistons can only push 12 blocks, so this is 12 blocks, it can push it, no problem. You add 13, it can't push it anymore. So if you do something like this would be right on the piston push limit. If you try to add anything else, it won't push anymore. Now the final thing to understand with pistons is these observers. They one tick, because one ticking is when the piston doesn't just do this, extended, then you retract it, but it pulls it. As you can see, when I do this, it just pushes it. This is one ticking the piston. Well, it's technically 0 ticking the piston, but it's one ticking the piston. That means it's moving with only one tick of an input to then push the blocks and not retract. Anyways, what does this have to do with observers? Well, the observer is able to actually give out a pulse of one tick. So you see, I put an input, and then one ticks the piston. And it's very useful. See where this is going, huh? If you build something like this, knowing everything we now know, you know that this would retract, it wouldn't stick to this. All of these would pull because it's just within the piston push limit at 11 blocks. These two would also pull up, and because the observer, whenever the observer moves, I forgot to say this, it also gives out a input. So you can see with my cool texture pack, it pulses there. So when this retracts, it would give an input to then retract this, retract this, retract this, make a chain reaction. So as you can see, if we do that, that's exactly what happens. And then this design is infinitely expandable, so you can make a 100 by 100 thing if you want to do this. Just know that you have to alternate between the two, so it would be like this, instead of just going slime, honey to honey, and slime to slime. That obviously won't work. But how do you make this go auto? Because like you can't just do a piston every single time. You gotta make this go auto. It's a flying machine, of course. So how do you do that? Well, you make an engine. What does the engine do? It's an engine. It just keeps on going and just goes all the way up to world height limit. Yep, that's an engine. Anyway, segment done. Now we actually gotta explain this. So the way an engine works is that when one side gets powered, it then pushes the other side. This goes up, which then makes this fire because it gives a pulse because the observer moves. So then this gets powered, retracting this. And then when that happens multiple times, it then just does a chain reaction with this pulling it up, pushing it, and then pulling it up again to push it again. Now you may be wondering, oh, how do I grab the thing over there? You add a segment, you just extend this, add a segment to then grab that, which is actually a good segue to over here. Putting the two things together. Now we've learned how to make a wall and how to make an engine. Now how do you put those together into one thing? It's quite simple, really. Just put them together. You build it up, and then you just power it. That's it. It's two things. You just put the engine on top of the wall, and it works. You can just break that. There it works. However, we're not going for a pulling design, we're going for a pushing design. But you can see, obviously, This is way over the piston push limit. How do you do this? Well, you power it bottom to top, because you start powering this, starts pushing them, making gaps, and then you can do something like this. Very useful, because then it pushes and you can actually hide that in the door. This is a simple 5x5 door, and as you can see, it's fairly compact, and when you power it, it works. How does one power it though? It's quite simple, really. So the first thing you need to do is build your door frame, and I'm just going to copy this 5x5, and you can build any size door you want with the same principles I'm about to tell you. So in the door frame, you don't want obsidian in there, so we use glazed terracotta, because glazed terracotta, it's unsticky, so if you use a sticky piston to it, it can be moved, but it cannot be stuck. Once the door frame is all done, we're now going to make the flying machine, so you want to go with slime and honey alternating, and if you want to make this bigger, then you can add different segments to it like this. So this would be an 8x8, so you just do this and then make it 8 blocks long. But because this is a 5x5, we only need the one segment. So once your walls are built up, you're going to connect it to your engine. Now in the engine, you're going to place the pistons facing your segments, and then you're going to build up a little thing like this. So there we go, it's all there, and you want to make sure it's alternating blocks. And you want to place your pistons like this up here. And we're going to go with slime and honey on the top, just alternating again, and more sticky pistons facing downwards. Then you get adding your observers facing away from the pistons, which means the face is facing away from the pistons and the back is facing into the pistons. Now it's time for the redstone. Now to do the redstone is fairly straightforward. First thing, we're going to use a button, and then we're going to make a glass tower going up like this. You're just going to make it go until the last block meets with the block underneath these sticky pistons. Then you're going to run redstone all along that glass tower. Then you're going to place a target block going to piston, going to observer, and a block, one block away from that observer. Then we're going to step away from that for a second. We're going to go back to this and start adding furnaces on the sides of the piston. This is because furnaces are immovable objects. And before we forget for later, we need to add obsidian to the top here, and then obsidian to the bottom underneath the door. Now we're going to go back over here and start making a little wool thing, just going over here like so, and then going just like that. Then we're going to run redstone dust on top of this. Then you're going to put observers right here facing into these redstone dust, and if you can't do it and you need to place blocks here to place them, just make sure you put obsidian underneath these. Now the next part is we're going to make a little glass tower just like so, going over like this, up here, up and over, and then like so. So you're going to need something that looks like that. By the way, pause the video if you have to. And then you're going to run redstone on top of it, but right here you're going to place one repeater on its default, and another repeater on 2 ticks, because you can't just put it on 3 ticks, it'll double fire. This is what I mean by it double firing. Then you go to run redstone on here, and then place observers facing into these redstone. And there you go, that's closing all done. Now we need to do the opening. We're gonna go into the back here. Now that we know where these pistons line up, we're gonna put furnaces right on the back of them. Then you're gonna run redstone just right here. Then you're gonna put observers facing those redstone. Again, if you can't place the observers right, just make sure to put a row of obsidian on here. There you go, you my friend just make yourself your own Slimestone door. If you want to make this bigger, just make sure these are extended, and if you're adding more segments, just make sure that each one is going 3 ticks. So this one, and then 3 ticks this one, 3 ticks this one. Don't forget to set it up like this. Well, that was easy, right? Now that you've learned how to do Slimestone, you can go build that 100 by 100 door.
But still, we still don't know how to do real redstone.
Well, if you want to know that, check out this video here. Now get out.